Love is the ultimate journey. It is the force that creates, sustains, and transforms life. Yet most people misunderstand love. They seek it outside, in relationships, possessions, or recognition. They try to control it, measure it, or possess it. Osho explains that true love cannot be found this way. It is not something you get or achieve, it is something you awaken within. This book, The Beloved Vol. 2, is a guide to discovering the hidden power of love. It explores love as a path of surrender, devotion, and transformation. It is not a story about romantic love alone. It is about the love that dissolves the ego, awakens the soul, and connects the heart to existence itself. It shows that love is the door to freedom, bliss, and eternal presence. Osho takes the reader through the stages of love, from its first awakening to its highest expression. The chapters explore the beauty of surrender, the ecstasy of devotion, the courage to die in love, and the power of silence. It shows that love is not only an emotion, but a revolution, a path, and a method to awaken the heart and soul. Through stories, reflections, and teachings, the book reveals the ways in which love can transform life completely. The journey begins with the awakening of the heart. It leads through the fire of devotion, the dance of the soul, the song beyond words, and the silence between two heartbeats. Finally, it reaches the ultimate realization. The door opens within here. The heart experiences freedom, the soul experiences unity, and life itself becomes a celebration. This book is for anyone who is ready to explore love beyond the ordinary. It is for those who are willing to surrender fear, ego, and attachment. It is for those who are ready to live fully, love deeply, and awaken to the eternal within Osho's words. Invite you to discover the beloved within yourself. They guide you to experience love as the greatest adventure, the highest freedom, and the ultimate truth. As you read, remember that love is not outside you. It is already inside. It is waiting to be awakened, celebrated, and lived fully. Every chapter, every reflection, every teaching points toward this truth. The journey begins here, now, with the awakening of the heart. Step forward and let the beloved guide you. The first chapter begins with the ultimate flowering of love, where the heart starts to bloom, surrender begins, and the journey into the eternal mystery of love unfolds. Chapter 1. Love's Ultimate Flowering. Love is not something you can hold in your hand. It is not a possession. It is a quality of the heart. Osho begins this chapter by explaining that human love is only a shadow of what is possible. Most people love with conditions and expectations. They want to be loved in return. They measure love by what they receive rather than what they give. This is a small and limited love. It is like a flower that never opens. Real love is different. It is unconditional. It grows naturally without forcing. Osho says that inside every person there is a seed of divine love. This seed is waiting for the right conditions to bloom. The right conditions are courage, awareness, and openness. If a person is afraid of being hurt, the seed will remain dormant. If the mind is too busy with judgment or control, the seed cannot grow. The seed needs space, patience, and trust. Osho explains that love is not a part of the mind. It is a part of the heart. The mind always wants to control and define. The heart always wants to flow and surrender. When the heart is allowed to flow freely, love begins to expand. This expansion is the flowering of love. It is not just emotional. It is spiritual. It is a movement from being centered on yourself to being centered on life itself. The ultimate flowering of love changes the person completely. It does not only touch relationships. It touches the way a person walks, the way a person breathes, the way a person sees the world. A person who experiences this love becomes gentle without effort. They become joyful without reason. They become compassionate naturally. Love becomes a state of being rather than an action. It is a presence that attracts everyone without trying. Osho tells a story about a flower in the wild. The flower does not struggle to become beautiful. It does not compete with other flowers. It blooms simply because it is its nature to bloom. In the same way, love blooms in a person when the inner conditions are right. It cannot be forced. It cannot be demanded. It cannot be planned. It arrives naturally when the ego steps aside. The ego always wants to protect, control, or possess. Love asks for no possession. It asks for no protection. It asks for freedom. The flowering of love also brings joy in solitude. A person who has tasted true love is not dependent on others for happiness. They are content in their own presence. This is a different quality of love. It is not based on attachment. It is based on celebration. Celebration of life, celebration of the divine, celebration of existence itself. Osho explains that when love flowers, it becomes a kind of meditation. Meditation is not only sitting quietly. It is a state of total openness and alertness. A flowering heart is always alert to beauty and always open to giving. Another important aspect Osho highlights is that love is fearless. Fear and love cannot coexist. When fear disappears, love naturally blooms. Fear is usually about losing, being rejected, or being hurt. Love requires trust. It requires courage to be vulnerable. Only those who are willing to risk can experience the fullness of love. Osho says that vulnerability is strength, not weakness. A closed heart may survive, but it never truly lives. An open heart may be hurt, but it blooms in ways the closed heart cannot imagine. Osho also talks about love as a dance. It is not rigid, not fixed, not controlling. It flows like a river, moves like the wind, and changes like the seasons. When love is flowing, it does not demand anything. It does not hold on to the past or worry about the future. It lives in the moment. A person whose love has flowered is alive in every moment. They touch the divine through ordinary experiences. Every smile, every glance, every touch becomes sacred love, also transforms suffering. When the heart is filled with love, pain loses its power. Suffering is seen as a teacher rather than a punishment. Loss, grief, and disappointment do not destroy a flowering heart. Instead, they deepen the experience of love. Osho explains that only through opening to love fully can one understand life completely. Love is both the answer and the question. It is the journey and the destination. The ultimate flowering of love goes beyond relationships with people. It includes love for nature, love for existence, love for God. Osho says that divine love is not separate from human love. Human love is a practice ground. It teaches patience, joy, surrender, and compassion. When human love becomes pure and unconditional, it naturally expands into the divine. This is the highest possibility of life. It is the purpose for which the heart was created. As this chapter ends, Osho prepares the reader for the next step. Once the seed of love begins to bloom, it naturally intoxicates the heart. It creates a sweetness that feels like being drunk. This is the next chapter, Drunk on the Divine, where Osho explains how love transforms ordinary consciousness into a state of divine bliss. The flowering is only the beginning. The journey continues deeper into surrender, devotion, and union with the Beloved. Chapter 2. Drunk on the Divine. When love flowers in the heart, it naturally creates a new state of being. Osho calls this state being drunk on the divine. It is not the drunkenness of wine or intoxication of the senses. It is a bliss that arises when the soul opens fully. The heart becomes a river flowing with sweetness. Every cell of the body vibrates with joy. The mind becomes silent. The ego disappears. There is no fear, no anxiety, no tension, only celebration. Osho explains that being drunk on the divine is a form of freedom. Most people are prisoners of their minds. They are controlled by thoughts, fears, and desires. They chase happiness outside themselves and never find it. Divine drunkenness is the opposite. It comes from letting go, surrendering, and trusting the flow of life. It does not depend on conditions. It does not demand anyone or anything. It comes naturally when the heart blooms fully. This state of intoxication is not temporary. It is not an escape. It is the true awakening of consciousness. A person drunk on the divine sees the world in a new way. Ordinary things become magical. A smile, a breeze, a drop of rain feels like a miracle. Osho says that in this state, the person lives as if every moment is a celebration. The ordinary becomes sacred. Life itself becomes a prayer. Osho shares that the drunkenness of the divine is also a dance of surrender. The heart is open, the mind is relaxed, the ego steps aside. There is no need to control, plan, or analyze. The heart simply flows. In this flow, a person experiences love without limitation. They feel connected to all beings. They feel the presence of God in everything. Every heartbeat becomes music. Every breath becomes a song. The divine intoxication also dissolves loneliness. When love is pure, there is no separation. The person does not need someone else to feel complete. They are complete in themselves. Yet they feel a deep connection with everyone. This is the paradox of divine love. It is both individual and universal. Osho says that a person in this state is like a sun radiating warmth. Their love does not seek or demand. It simply shines and transforms everything it touches. Osho explains that to be drunk on the divine, one must let go of fears and expectations. People often resist love because they are afraid of loss or rejection. They try to control love with rules, obligations, and conditions. But divine love cannot be controlled. It can only be surrendered to. When the heart surrenders, it opens to joy beyond imagination. The surrender is not weakness. It is courage. It is the courage to let go and trust life fully. Osho also mentions that this divine intoxication is not confined to religious or mystical practices. It can appear in ordinary life. A person walking in a garden, listening to music, or helping another can experience this state. The key is total presence and openness. Even a simple smile, when given with total love, can bring the same sweetness as meditation. The divine is not far away. It is already inside, waiting to be felt. The heart becomes like a river, flowing freely and spontaneously. The mind may still come with thoughts, but the heart remains drunk on love. This state is not permanent in the beginning. It comes in moments, but each moment leaves a lasting effect. Gradually, the person becomes more attuned to this sweetness. They begin to live with a continuous sense of wonder and gratitude. Osho says that this drunkenness also transforms relationships. A person drunk on the divine loves without attachment or expectation. They do not demand anything from others. They give freely, joyfully, and silently. Others are drawn to this energy naturally. The love radiated does not bind or possess. It simply awakens the same quality in others. Love multiplies without effort. Finally, Osho emphasizes that being drunk on the divine is a preparation for deeper love. This state allows the lover to dissolve completely. It prepares the heart to move beyond separation and duality. The next step, Osho says, is when the lover becomes the beloved. This is the union where the self disappears and only love remains. The divine intoxication is the bridge from human love to divine love. It is the sweetness that awakens the soul and prepares it for total surrender. As the chapter ends, the reader is invited to notice the subtle joy within. Even a small moment of love can make the heart drunk. This is the first taste of something far greater. The journey continues into the next chapter, where the union of lover and beloved is explored. Chapter 3. When the lover becomes the beloved. In the journey of love, there is a moment when the lover disappears. Osho explains that true love is not about possession or seeking. It is not about finding someone to complete you. The ultimate love is when the lover becomes the beloved. This means that the boundary between self and other dissolves. The person who loves deeply no longer sees themselves as separate. There is no longer me and you. There is only one presence, one flow, one being. The lover is usually a person who seeks, desires, or longs. The beloved is not something to be obtained. It is the state where love itself becomes the center. Osho says that when the lover becomes the beloved, love becomes effortless. There is no struggle, no fear, no calculation. The heart flows naturally without resistance. This is the beauty and mystery of divine love. Osho describes this state as a melting of the self. The ego, which constantly wants recognition or control, disappears. In its place comes a total openness. The heart is available to everything and everyone. Every experience becomes sacred. Every person becomes a mirror of the divine. The lover who becomes the beloved does not need to possess or change anyone. Love simply exists as it is. This transformation also requires courage. Most people are afraid to dissolve their identity. They cling to roles, thoughts, and memories. But in love, holding on prevents flowering. Osho says that surrender is not weakness. It is the greatest strength. The lover who surrenders becomes one with existence. This surrender is not temporary. It is a permanent shift in consciousness. It is the doorway to immortality. The beloved is not only outside, it is also inside. When the lover becomes the beloved, the heart recognizes itself in the other. This recognition is not a thought. It is a deep feeling of unity. It is the understanding that all separation is an illusion. The lover and the beloved were never separate. They only appeared separate because the mind divided experience into this and that. Osho explains that this state is beyond language. No words can describe the union of the lover and the beloved. Stories, poetry, and songs only hint at the depth. The experience is known directly by the heart and soul. It is a knowing that does not need explanation. It is a silence filled with joy. It is a presence filled with bliss. It is the song of the soul without words. When this union happens, love transforms everything. Every action, every gesture, and every thought becomes a reflection of the divine. Even ordinary moments feel extraordinary. Walking, breathing, or looking at a flower becomes an act of meditation. Osho says that in this state, life itself becomes a celebration. The heart no longer waits for something outside to feel complete. It is already full. It is already satisfied. It is already awake. Another aspect Osho highlights is that in this union, the heart becomes fearless. There is no fear of losing, being hurt, or being rejected. The lover who becomes the beloved trusts the flow of life. Trust becomes natural. It is not learned or forced. It arises spontaneously from the depth of love. Fear cannot survive in this presence. Only love remains. This transformation also deepens compassion. The lover who becomes the beloved does not judge. They do not see enemies or friends. They see life as one seamless whole. Every being is a reflection of the same love. Helping, giving, and forgiving become natural expressions of this state. There is no calculation, no desire for reward, no expectation. Everything is done from the fullness of the heart. Osho compares this state to a river merging with the ocean. The river loses its name, its identity, and its boundaries. It dissolves into something larger and timeless. Yet it does not disappear. It gains a depth, a vastness, and a freedom it never knew. In the same way, the lover who becomes the beloved loses ego and separation but gains infinity. The experience is not limited to spiritual masters. Osho emphasizes that anyone who is willing to let go can experience this union. It requires honesty, courage, and complete openness. It requires dropping the need to control, the need to possess, and the need to define. When these fall away, love flows naturally. It becomes effortless. It becomes eternal. As this chapter closes, Osho prepares the reader for the next experience. Once the lover becomes the beloved, the heart begins to sing its own song. A song that is not created by thought or words. A song that arises from the pure essence of being. This song is the topic of the next chapter, the music of the heart. It is where love transforms into a melody that can be felt in every heartbeat and breath. The journey continues deeper into the mystery of love and the presence of the divine. Chapter 4. The music of the heart. When love reaches its full flowering, it begins to create its own music. Osho explains that this music is not heard by the ears. It is not composed with instruments or notes. It arises from the heart and the soul. It is the sound of pure being. The heart begins to sing naturally. Every beat becomes a rhythm. Every breath becomes a melody. Life itself starts to resonate with harmony. This music is a sign that love has moved beyond desire. Ordinary love seeks satisfaction. It hopes to possess, to control, or to gain. But the music of the heart is free from all of this. It is not dependent on anyone or anything. It arises spontaneously when the ego dissolves. It is the song of life itself. It is the voice of the soul. Osho says that this music has the power to heal. When the heart sings, it releases all tensions, fears, and pains. It transforms suffering into joy. It transforms loneliness into celebration. Even the body begins to vibrate with this music. Cells awaken. Energy flows freely. The whole being becomes light and radiant. The music of the heart is also a form of meditation. It is a natural awareness that does not require effort. No technique is needed. No ritual is required. The music arises when the heart is open, relaxed, and present. It is a listening without the ears. It is a seeing without the eyes. It is a feeling without the mind. Osho emphasizes that this music is not separate from the world. It is not an escape from life. It is a deeper participation in existence. The person who hears this music feels connected with everything. The trees, the rivers, the mountains, and the sky are all part of the same song. Every creature, every stone, every star resonates in the harmony of love. Life becomes a symphony in which the heart dances freely. This music is also an expression of gratitude. When the heart is open, it naturally gives thanks to existence. There is no need to speak or pray. The music itself becomes the prayer. It celebrates the beauty of life and the presence of the divine in every moment. Osho says that listening to this inner music brings joy beyond words. It awakens a silent ecstasy that fills the entire being. Another aspect of the music of the heart is its silence. Osho explains that between every note, every beat, there is a gap. This gap is pure silence. It is the space where the divine can be felt. The music and the silence together create a rhythm that is sacred. It is in this rhythm that love flows effortlessly. It is in this silence that the heart becomes aware of its own depth. The music of the heart also dissolves fear and doubt. When the heart sings, worries lose their importance. The mind may still attempt to interfere, but the song continues. It reminds the person that life is not about struggle. It is about surrender, joy, and celebration. The more the heart opens, the louder and clearer the music becomes. It cannot be stopped, controlled, or forced. It can only be listened to and lived. Osho explains that the music of the heart creates a natural magnetism. People who experience it radiate love and peace. They do not need to speak to inspire or heal. Their presence alone becomes transformative. The music awakens love in others. It multiplies silently. It spreads without effort. It does not demand attention or recognition. This chapter also highlights that the music of the heart is a preparation for devotion. Osho says that when the heart sings, it naturally moves toward surrender. It moves toward God. It moves toward union with the beloved. The music opens the door to deeper experiences of love, ecstasy, and awareness. It is a bridge between human love and divine love. The heart becomes a temple where the divine can enter. Finally, Osho reminds the reader that the music of the heart is available to everyone. It does not require special circumstances or extraordinary conditions. Even small acts of love, awareness, and presence awaken it. A smile, a kind word, or a simple act of generosity can create this music. It is always there, waiting to be heard. The heart simply needs to open. And once it opens, the song begins. As this chapter ends, the reader is ready to experience the next dimension of love. Once the heart begins to sing, it naturally moves into devotion and fiery surrender. This is the topic of the next chapter, the fire of devotion. It is where love becomes a consuming flame that transforms the lover completely. The journey of the heart continues deeper into surrender, ecstasy, and unity with the divine. Chapter 5. The Fire of Devotion. Love, when it reaches its highest expression, becomes devotion. Osho explains that devotion is the fire that transforms the heart completely. It is not a devotion to rituals, rules, or ideas. It is a devotion to life, to the divine, and to the ultimate truth. This fire burns away the ego, the fear, and the limitations of the mind. It does not destroy the person. It frees the person. It turns love into a powerful force of transformation. The fire of devotion requires total surrender. Osho says that half-hearted love cannot ignite this fire. The heart must be willing to let go of control. It must be willing to dissolve in the beloved. It must be willing to trust existence completely. Surrender is not weakness. It is the highest courage. It is the courage to be fully alive without barriers or protection. This is what makes the fire of devotion so powerful. Devotion is also a celebration of life. Osho explains that when the heart surrenders, everything becomes sacred. Every breath, every smile, every gesture becomes an act of love. The fire of devotion does not seek reward. It does not demand recognition. It flows naturally, spontaneously, and joyfully. The heart gives freely without expectation. It receives joy and bliss as a natural consequence. Osho shares that devotion is like a flame. The flame is not concerned about what it burns. It only burns. In the same way, devotion does not care about consequences or results. It simply exists in total presence. The devoted heart is always alive in the moment. It does not cling to the past. It does not worry about the future. It moves with the flow of life, fully surrendered and fully awake. The fire of devotion also deepens awareness. Osho explains that when the heart is fully surrendered, the mind becomes quiet. Thoughts no longer dominate. The senses no longer distract. The person becomes fully alert to the inner and outer world. This alertness is not tense or anxious. It is relaxed, joyful, and free. It allows the person to experience reality as it is. Everything is alive, vibrant, and full of wonder. Another important aspect of devotion is love without conditions. The devoted heart does not ask for anything in return. It does not try to possess, control, or change others. It simply loves. This unconditional love creates a natural magnetism. People are drawn to it. They feel uplifted and inspired. The fire of devotion spreads silently and effortlessly. It does not seek attention or approval. It simply burns. Osho also highlights that devotion is fearless. Fear cannot survive in a heart that is fully surrendered. Fear arises from ego and attachment, but devotion dissolves both. The heart becomes brave, open, and fearless. It faces life with total trust. It accepts whatever comes without resistance. It does not run from pain, loss, or suffering. Instead, it embraces all experiences as part of the divine flow. Devotion is also a path to ecstasy. Osho explains that the fire of devotion transforms ordinary love into something extraordinary. It creates a sweetness that the mind cannot understand. It creates a joy that words cannot describe. The devoted heart experiences bliss in every moment. Even difficulties become opportunities for deepening love. Even pain becomes a teacher. The fire purifies the heart, leaving only light, love, and awareness. Osho says that devotion is not limited to religious practices. It can appear in everyday life. A person who loves their work, nature, or humanity with full presence experiences this fire. A person who serves without expectation experiences this fire. Even simple acts of kindness and attention become expressions of devotion. It is the quality of the heart that matters, not the action itself. Every heart can be a temple if it burns with devotion. The fire of devotion also dissolves the sense of separateness. The devoted heart does not see others as different or separate. Every being becomes a reflection of the same love. This awareness creates a deep sense of unity. Osho says that the more the fire burns, the more boundaries disappear. The heart experiences itself as one with existence. It moves from the personal to the universal. It moves from human love to divine love. As this chapter ends, Osho prepares the reader for the next step. Once the heart is burning with devotion, it is ready to take the ultimate risk. The ultimate risk is madness in love. It is the courage to be completely consumed by love. This is the topic of the next chapter, the courage to go mad in love. The fire of devotion prepares the heart to surrender fully, to dissolve completely, and to experience the ecstasy of divine union. Chapter 6. The courage to go mad in love. Love is not for the faint of heart. Osho begins this chapter by saying that to experience its full power, one must be willing to go beyond reason, beyond comfort, and beyond control. True love requires courage. It asks the heart to risk everything, even the sense of self. It asks the mind to step aside. It asks the soul to dance with the unknown. This is what Osho calls going mad in love. It is a madness that the world often misunderstands. To ordinary eyes, it may look like obsession, foolishness, or loss of balance. But Osho says it is the highest form of sanity. It is the wisdom of surrender, the intelligence of the heart, and the freedom of the soul. Most people resist love because they are afraid. They fear losing control, being hurt, or being rejected. The mind tries to analyze, predict, and protect. The ego builds walls, sets rules, and calculates risks. But love cannot be contained by walls, rules, or calculations. It flows beyond all barriers. It cannot be measured, planned, or owned. To experience love fully, the heart must be willing to leap into the unknown. It must be willing to surrender completely. It must have the courage to go mad. Osho explains that this madness is not destructive. It does not mean losing balance in life or harming oneself or others. It is a madness that frees the heart. It is a liberation from fear, doubt, and the limitations of the ego. When the heart goes mad in love, It experiences ecstasy, joy, and bliss that the mind cannot comprehend. The person becomes alive in every moment. Every heartbeat becomes a celebration. Every breath becomes a song. This madness in love is also a surrender to life itself. Osho says that the person who is willing to go mad in love does not demand, control, or possess. They do not cling to outcomes or expectations. They do not seek security in attachments. Instead, they embrace uncertainty, change, and the unknown. They live in total presence, fully awake and fully aware. This courage transforms love from a personal feeling into a universal force. It becomes a doorway to the divine. Osho shares that love often appears in extremes. It can make the heart soar with joy. It can break the heart with pain. It can bring ecstasy or grief. The courageous heart accepts both. It does not run from pain. It does not cling to pleasure. It moves with the rhythm of life, flowing freely like a river that neither resists nor holds back. This is the heart of madness in love. The courage to go mad also requires honesty. Osho explains that one cannot be partially truthful and expect to experience true love. The heart must be completely honest with itself and with life. It must face its desires, fears, and limitations. It must accept all that it is without judgment. Only then can the fire of love burn fully and transform the person from within. Osho illustrates this courage with stories of saints and mystics. People like Meera, Rumi, and Krishna went beyond the ordinary mind. Their love seemed irrational to others. They laughed, danced, and wept in ways that society called madness. But Osho says that their madness was divine wisdom. It was a total surrender to love. It was a willingness to dissolve completely in the beloved. Their lives show that true love is fearless, boundless, and free. This madness also opens the door to ecstasy. Osho says that when the heart surrenders fully, it enters a state beyond pleasure and pain. It becomes a pure energy of being. The person experiences life as a continuous celebration. Every moment is alive. Every experience is sacred. The heart is no longer limited by ego, fear, or expectation. It is free to dance, sing, and merge with the infinite. The courage to go mad in love is also the courage to die. Osho explains that love asks for the death of ego. The small self must dissolve. The personal identity must disappear. Only then can the heart experience union with the divine. This death is not destruction. It is liberation. It is the opening of a doorway to a higher reality. It is the ultimate freedom of the soul. Osho also says that this madness transforms ordinary relationships. When the heart goes mad in love, it no longer expects, judges, or possesses. It gives freely and joyfully. It embraces both beauty and imperfection. It sees the divine in every being. This love is not limited to one person. It becomes universal. It radiates outward and touches everyone. It heals, inspires, and awakens. Finally, Osho reminds the reader that going mad in love is a choice. It is not imposed by circumstances. It is not forced by society or tradition. It is a decision of the heart to surrender completely. It is the courage to risk everything for the sake of love, freedom, and the divine. This is the highest adventure of human life. It is the path to ecstasy, bliss, and ultimate fulfillment. As this chapter closes, Osho prepares the reader for the next dimension of love. Once the heart is willing to go mad, it begins to experience a fragrance of nothingness. This is the topic of the next chapter. Chapter 7. The fragrance of nothingness. When the heart surrenders completely, it begins to touch a new dimension. Osho calls this the fragrance of nothingness. This is not emptiness in a negative sense. It is not loneliness or void. It is a fullness beyond form, a presence beyond thought, a sweetness beyond description. It is the essence of being. The heart experiences a silence that is alive, a stillness that is vibrant, a space that holds everything without clinging to anything. Osho explains that this fragrance is a natural result of love that has gone beyond desire and possession. When the heart is free, the mind quiets. When the mind quiets, the soul awakens. When the soul awakens, it begins to taste the infinite. The fragrance of nothingness cannot be sought or planned. It is always present, waiting for the heart to open fully. Those who are courageous enough to surrender discover that nothingness is not emptiness. It is the source of all life, love, and joy. The fragrance of nothingness also dissolves fear. Osho says that fear arises from attachment and desire. When the heart experiences nothingness, it no longer clings. It no longer seeks security, recognition, or control. It rests in itself, fully present and fully awake. This presence is fearless. It moves through life with trust and joy, embracing each moment as it comes. The heart becomes light, free, and radiant. Osho shares that this state is also the beginning of true meditation. Meditation is not an action or a practice. It is a state of being. When the heart rests in nothingness, it becomes a living meditation. Every breath, every heartbeat, every movement is sacred. The mind may still generate thoughts, but the heart remains untouched. It observes without judgment, receives without expectation, and flows without resistance. The fragrance of nothingness is also a fragrance of love. Osho explains that when the heart experiences this state, love becomes unconditional, boundless, and universal. It no longer depends on someone or something. It simply exists as a natural expression of being. The lover and the beloved dissolve into one. The personal merges with the universal. The human heart touches the divine. Love becomes infinite, effortless, and eternal. Osho also highlights that nothingness is not separate from life. It is not a retreat or escape. It is not detachment from reality. On the contrary, the heart that rests in nothingness is more fully alive than ever. It experiences each moment with intensity, clarity, and depth. Every sound, every color, every sensation becomes a doorway to the divine. The ordinary becomes extraordinary. The mundane becomes sacred. Life itself becomes a celebration. Another aspect of nothingness is its fragrance of freedom. Osho says that the heart that tastes nothingness is free from the past and the future. It does not carry regrets, resentments, or expectations. It does not fear loss or death. It lives fully in the present, flowing with life like a river that merges with the ocean. This freedom is not temporary. It is a permanent shift in consciousness. It is the liberation of the soul. The fragrance of nothingness also awakens creativity. When the mind is silent, the heart is open. The soul expresses itself naturally in art, music, poetry, and movement. Osho explains that every creation arises from the space of nothingness. It is not forced, calculated, or controlled. It flows spontaneously, effortlessly, and beautifully. The person who touches this fragrance becomes a source of inspiration for others. Their life becomes a living poem. Osho emphasizes that experiencing nothingness requires courage. Most people fear emptiness. They cling to possessions, relationships, routines, and identities. They fill every moment with noise, activity, and distraction. But true love asks the heart to release all of this. It asks the mind to step aside. It asks the soul to rest in silence. Only then can the fragrance of nothingness be tasted. This fragrance also prepares the heart for the death of duality. Osho explains that as long as the mind divides experience into opposites, good and bad, joy and sorrow, lover and beloved, the heart remains limited. Nothingness dissolves these divisions. It allows the heart to see the unity behind all appearances. It creates a deep sense of peace, joy, and harmony. The lover merges with the beloved. The human merges with the divine. Love becomes infinite, formless, and eternal. Finally, Osho reminds the reader that the fragrance of nothingness is not separate from love. It is the essence of love itself. Love is not attachment, desire, or possession. Love is presence, awareness, and surrender. When the heart tastes nothingness, it discovers that love is already everywhere. It flows in every breath, every heartbeat, every moment. The fragrance of nothingness is the fragrance of love. It is the taste of freedom, ecstasy, and divinity. As this chapter ends, the reader is ready to explore the next step. Once the heart experiences nothingness, it naturally dissolves duality. The boundaries between self and other, lover and beloved, begin to disappear. This is the topic of the next chapter, the death of duality. It is where love becomes unity, silence becomes presence, and the heart touches infinity itself. The journey continues deeper into surrender, ecstasy, and divine awakening. Chapter 8. The Death of Duality. Osho begins this chapter by explaining that duality is the root of all struggle in life. Duality divides the world into opposites. It separates love from hate, pleasure from pain, self from other, life from death. It creates fear, conflict, and confusion. The mind clings to one side of duality and rejects the other. It identifies with the small self and resists the whole. But love, when fully awakened, dissolves duality. It does not reject, judge, or divide. It embraces everything with total openness. The death of duality is not an external process. It is an inner transformation. Osho says that when the heart surrenders completely, the boundaries of the ego dissolve. The mind, which constantly compares, evaluates, and separates, becomes still. The lover and the beloved merge. The seeker and the sought disappear. The human and the divine become one. This is the ultimate freedom. This is the ultimate love. Osho explains that duality exists because of attachment. When the heart clings to someone or something, it creates division. When the heart desires recognition, approval, or possession, it separates itself from the whole. The fire of love, devotion, and surrender burns this attachment. It dissolves fear, ego, and separation. The heart rests in unity. It experiences life as one seamless flow. The death of duality also brings deep peace. Osho says that when the mind no longer separates, there is no conflict. The heart becomes calm and still. It does not react with anger, jealousy, or frustration. It observes life without judgment. It receives life without resistance. It flows with existence naturally and effortlessly. This peace is not passive. It is a vibrant, alive presence. It is the heart fully awake. Osho shares that this state is beyond logic and reason. The mind may attempt to analyze or categorize. It may try to create rules or explanations, but the heart experiences directly. It does not need concepts, words, or images. It knows that all opposites are illusions. It sees the unity behind the appearance of multiplicity. It rests in the oneness that underlies everything. The death of duality also deepens love. When the heart no longer sees self and other as separate, love becomes infinite. It does not cling, demand, or possess. It flows freely, spontaneously, and joyfully. Osho says that in this state, the heart loves everyone equally. There is no distinction between friend and enemy, human and divine. Lover and beloved love becomes universal. It becomes the essence of existence itself. Osho emphasizes that this transformation requires courage. Most people are afraid to dissolve their identity. They fear losing control, security, or recognition. They cling to duality because it gives a sense of certainty. But true love asks for the death of certainty. It asks for the death of duality. It asks for the death of ego. Only then can the heart experience freedom, unity, and divine love. This state also awakens profound joy. Osho explains that when duality dies, the heart is no longer limited by comparisons, expectations, or judgments. It experiences life directly. It feels the sweetness of each moment. It feels the presence of the divine in every being and every experience. The joy that arises is not dependent on anything external. It is eternal, limitless, and unconditional. The death of duality also opens the heart to creativity and spontaneous expression. Osho says that when the heart merges with the whole, it naturally flows in harmony with life. Every movement, every word, every gesture becomes a reflection of the divine. Every act becomes an expression of love. The person becomes a channel for the infinite. Their life becomes a living art. Finally, Osho reminds the reader that the death of duality is not separate from love or devotion. It is the natural outcome of surrender, ecstasy, and the fire of devotion. When the heart dissolves in love, the mind dissolves in silence, and the soul dissolves in unity. All boundaries disappear. The lover and the beloved are no longer separate. The heart becomes one with the divine. Life becomes a single, continuous song of love and bliss. As this chapter ends, the reader is ready to explore the next dimension. Once duality dies, the heart begins to dance freely. This is the topic of the next chapter, the dance of the soul. It is where love becomes movement, ecstasy, and celebration, and the soul expresses its freedom in every heartbeat and breath. The journey continues deeper into surrender, unity, and divine joy. Chapter 9. The Dance of the Soul. Once the heart dissolves duality, love takes a new form. Osho explains that this form is the dance of the soul. It is not a dance performed with the body alone. It is a movement that arises from the core of being. It is the expression of freedom, ecstasy, and unity. The soul begins to move in rhythms that are natural, spontaneous, and divine. This dance is the language of love beyond words. The dance of the soul is the result of total surrender. When the heart has gone mad in love, touched nothingness, and transcended duality, it can no longer remain still. The energy of love begins to flow through every cell, every thought, every breath. Osho says that this movement is not learned. It cannot be forced or imitated. It arises spontaneously when the heart is free. The body, mind, and soul align, and the soul begins to dance in celebration of life itself. Osho emphasizes that this dance is not for showing others. It is not a performance. It is a personal experience of joy and liberation. The dancer does not think of rhythm, steps, or audience. There is only movement and presence. The body moves as if guided by an invisible force. Every gesture, every motion, every sway is filled with love and awareness. It is a silent song that the soul sings through the body. The dance of the soul is also a form of meditation. Osho explains that in this dance, the mind becomes silent. Thoughts dissolve. Ego disappears. The heart becomes fully awake. Every step, every spin, every pause is a meditation in motion. The dancer experiences life directly without interference from the mind or attachment to outcomes. Each moment becomes sacred. Each movement becomes a prayer, and each breath becomes a celebration. This dance is also an expression of divine love. Osho says that when the heart experiences unity with the beloved, the soul cannot remain still. It expresses itself through movement, laughter, song, and rhythm. It becomes a living celebration of the presence of the divine. The dance awakens love in others. It radiates joy, freedom, and inspiration. It shows that love is not a concept or feeling alone. It is a dynamic force that flows through the whole being. Osho explains that the dance of the soul arises from trust and surrender. The dancer does not resist life. The dancer does not cling. The dancer does not seek approval or recognition. There is only openness and flow. The energy of love moves naturally, effortlessly, and joyfully. It is a movement that mirrors the rhythms of existence itself. It is the heartbeat of the universe expressed through the human soul. Another aspect of this dance is ecstasy. Osho says that when the soul moves freely, the heart experiences joy beyond words. Pleasure, pain, sorrow, and delight all merge into one energy of being. The dancer does not distinguish between experiences. Every movement becomes an act of surrender. Every motion becomes a reflection of the divine. This ecstasy is not temporary. It is a permanent state of being for those who have dissolved duality and surrendered completely to love. The dance of the soul also opens the heart to others. Osho explains that when the soul moves freely, it radiates love and light to everyone nearby. The energy spreads silently. It touches others without words or effort. It inspires, heals, and awakens. The dance is a form of communication that transcends language. It expresses the unity of all life and the boundless nature of love. Osho also says that the dance of the soul is a preparation for the song beyond words. When the heart moves in ecstasy, the soul begins to sing. This is not a song of the mind. It is not composed of thoughts, concepts, or ideas. It is a song that arises spontaneously from being. It is the song of love, presence, and divine unity. It is a melody that fills every heartbeat, every breath, every moment of existence. Finally, Osho reminds the reader that the dance of the soul is available to everyone. It does not require special skills, rituals, or techniques. It only requires courage, openness, and surrender. The heart must be willing to dissolve in love, touch nothingness, and move beyond duality. Once these doors are open, the soul cannot help but dance. Life becomes a continuous celebration. The ordinary becomes extraordinary. The human becomes divine. As this chapter ends, the reader is ready to experience the next stage. Once the soul begins to dance, it naturally moves into a song beyond words. This is the topic of the next chapter, the song beyond words. It is where love becomes melody, presence becomes music, and the soul expresses its ecstasy in the purest vibration of being. The journey continues deeper into surrender, joy, and divine union. Chapter 10. The Song Beyond Words. Osho begins this chapter by explaining that the song beyond words is the highest expression of love. It is not a song composed of letters, sentences, or sounds. It is not meant to be heard by the ears or understood by the mind. It is the song of the heart, the soul, and the entire being. It arises naturally when the lover has surrendered completely, when the fire of devotion burns fully, and when duality has dissolved. It is the music of existence itself. The song beyond words is a language that transcends thinking. Osho says that words can never capture the depth of love. They can describe feelings, tell stories, and express ideas, but the essence of love remains beyond them. This song communicates without effort, without intention, without expectation. It is pure expression. It touches the heart directly. It awakens awareness, ecstasy, and connection. Those who hear it, even silently within themselves, feel transformed. Osho explains that this song is inseparable from silence. The space between notes, the pauses, and the gaps are as important as the sound itself. Silence is not emptiness. It is presence, fullness, and awareness. The song flows naturally from silence and returns to it. It moves like a river of light, carrying the heart beyond the mind, beyond desire, and beyond separation. In this song, every heartbeat becomes a drum. Every breath becomes a melody, and every movement becomes rhythm. The song beyond words is the expression of unconditional love. Osho says that when love becomes free from expectation, attachment, and fear, it begins to sing. It does not seek anything in return. It does not demand, control, or possess. It flows freely, radiating joy, compassion, and peace. The heart becomes a living instrument. The soul becomes a vibrating string. The body becomes a resonating chamber. Together, they create the song beyond words. This song is also a form of meditation. Osho explains that when the heart is open, the mind quiet, and the soul awake, the song arises spontaneously. It does not need to be practiced or performed. It cannot be forced. It can only be experienced. The song carries the listener into a state of pure awareness. Time seems to disappear. Space seems to expand. The person feels one with all existence. Every moment becomes sacred. Osho says that the song beyond words heals. It dissolves fear, pain, anger, and sadness. It awakens joy, love, and bliss. It touches the wounds of the heart and transforms them into energy. It lifts the spirit, enlightens the mind, and opens the soul. Those who dwell in this song experience life as a continuous celebration. Every sound, every movement, every thought resonates with divine harmony. Another aspect of this song is ecstasy. Osho explains that it is a song of pure joy that does not depend on external circumstances. It does not arise from pleasure or possession. It arises from presence, surrender, and love. It flows effortlessly, like sunlight pouring into a dark room. It illuminates every corner of the heart. It awakens gratitude, wonder, and awe. It makes ordinary life extraordinary. The song beyond words also awakens unity. Osho says that when the heart sings, it no longer distinguishes between self and other. Every being, every object, every moment becomes part of the same melody. There is no separation, no judgment, no comparison. Everything resonates in harmony. The song itself becomes a bridge between the human and the divine, the personal and the universal, the lover and the beloved. It is the ultimate expression of love. Osho reminds the reader that this song is always available. It is not limited to saints, mystics, or special circumstances. It is present whenever the heart opens, whenever surrender occurs, and whenever love flows freely. Even a small heart can taste this song. Even a brief moment of awareness can awaken it. The song waits quietly, ready to arise from the depths of being. It is a gift that is always present, always alive, and always waiting to be experienced. Finally, Osho connects this chapter to the journey ahead. Once the heart has tasted the song beyond words, it begins to realize that love is the only revolution. It is not a revolution in politics, society, or the world. It is a revolution within the heart, within awareness, and within the soul. It transforms the person completely. It awakens freedom, joy, and creativity. It prepares the heart to live, love, and die in the fullness of life. As this chapter ends, the reader is ready to enter the next stage. The next chapter, Love is the Only Revolution, explores how this inner transformation affects the entire life. It shows that when love awakens fully, it changes everything: the heart, the mind, the body, and even the world around us. The journey continues deeper into surrender, freedom, and the ultimate power of love. Chapter 11. Love is the Only Revolution. Osho begins this chapter by explaining that the greatest revolution is not political, social, or material. It is the revolution of the heart. It is the awakening of love in its purest form. Love has the power to transform everything. It can dissolve fear, hatred, and separation. It can break the chains of ego, pride, and greed. It is the only force that can change the world from the inside out. The revolution of love begins within. Osho says that before trying to change the world, the heart must be awakened. Love must flow freely within. It must touch every thought, every action, and every intention. When love rises within the heart, it radiates outward. It spreads silently yet powerfully. The outer world begins to change as the inner world awakens. This is the secret of true revolution. Osho explains that most people misunderstand love. They see it as a relationship, a possession, or a reward. They think it is something to be earned or achieved. But true love is neither possession nor attachment. It is freedom. It is surrender. It is the fire that burns the ego and awakens the soul. When the heart surrenders completely, love becomes revolutionary. It changes the way a person thinks, acts, and perceives life. Love as a revolution is fearless. Osho says that fear is the greatest obstacle to transformation. Fear divides, isolates, and limits the heart. Love dissolves. Fear completely. When the heart is fearless, it can face life fully. It can accept pain, loss, and uncertainty. It can embrace joy, ecstasy, and freedom. This courage is the essence of the revolution of love. Osho also emphasizes that love is inclusive. It does not discriminate, judge, or exclude. It transcends religion, culture, gender, and nationality. It recognizes the divine in every being. It sees unity behind diversity. When love awakens in the heart, it radiates equality, compassion, and understanding. It becomes the force that heals conflict, hostility, and misunderstanding. This is the power of revolutionary love. The revolution of love is not loud or aggressive. Osho explains that it does not impose itself on others. It does not demand recognition or obedience. It flows quietly, persistently, and naturally. It inspires without force, transforms without pressure, and awakens without judgment. The person who embodies this love becomes a living example of freedom, joy, and presence. Their life itself becomes a revolution in motion. Osho shares that love awakens creativity. When the heart is free from fear, attachment, and duality, it becomes a source of endless creativity. Every action, word, and gesture becomes an expression of divine love. Even ordinary tasks become sacred. The way a person walks, smiles, speaks, or works is infused with joy and awareness. This creative energy spreads silently, touching everyone around. It changes environments, relationships, and even societies in subtle but profound ways. Love also dissolves separation. Osho says that separation is the root of conflict, jealousy, and struggle. It creates divisions between self and other, friend and enemy. Human and divine love dissolves these divisions. It awakens unity, compassion, and understanding. It sees the one behind the many. It moves beyond boundaries, labels, and limitations. This is the essence of the revolution that love brings. Osho emphasizes that the revolution of love requires courage, surrender, and patience. It does not happen overnight. It is not a quick fix or a simple decision. It is a process of inner transformation. The heart must be willing to go mad in love, touch nothingness, dissolve duality, and dance with the soul. Every step of this journey strengthens the heart, deepens awareness, and expands freedom. It prepares the person to live a life of authentic love. The revolution of love is also joyful. Osho explains that love awakens laughter, celebration, and playfulness. It does not burden the heart with guilt, obligation, or expectation. It flows naturally, spontaneously, and freely. The person who embodies this love becomes a beacon of light, inspiration, and hope. Their life demonstrates that love is not only transformative, but also the most natural and effortless way of being. Finally, Osho connects this chapter to the journey ahead. The ultimate expression of love is the willingness to die in love. This is not physical death alone. It is the death of ego, fear, attachment, and separation. It is the ultimate surrender that opens the heart to eternity. This is the topic of the next chapter. To die in love is to live forever. It is where love reaches its highest peak, merging life and death into one eternal experience. Chapter 12. To die in love is to live forever. Osho begins this chapter by explaining that love is the ultimate life force. It is the energy that gives birth to creation and sustains existence. But true love asks for something more than attachment, desire, or passion. It asks for surrender. It asks for the courage to die in love. This death is not the end of life. It is a transformation that leads to eternal freedom, bliss, and unity. To die in love is to live forever. Osho says that most people fear death. They cling to life, possessions, identities, and relationships. They resist the inevitable, and in doing so, they live partially. But love teaches a different way. It teaches that to experience life fully, one must be willing to die. Not necessarily to end life physically, but to die to ego, fear, attachment, and limitation. This death opens the heart to infinite love and awareness. The death of ego is the first step. Osho explains that the ego is the small self, the sense of I and mine, that separates us from others and from the divine. It clings to identity, recognition, and control. But love dissolves ego naturally. When the heart surrenders, the ego loses its grip. The person no longer lives to protect, compete, or dominate. They live to love freely, fully, and without restriction. This is the beginning of eternal life in the heart. Osho emphasizes that dying in love is also dying to fear. Fear limits life, stifles joy, and blocks connection. It is the root of hesitation, doubt, and separation. The heart that surrenders to love transcends fear completely. It flows with life as it is. It faces uncertainty, pain, and loss with courage and trust. It accepts every moment as sacred. This fearless love opens the door to eternity. Dying in love also means releasing attachment. Osho says that attachment creates longing, expectation, and suffering. The heart that clings cannot experience freedom. But when love becomes unconditional, it flows without demand or restriction. It gives without expectation, trusts without doubt, and embraces without possession. This is the true liberation of the heart. It is the death of limitation and the birth of boundless love. Osho explains that this process also dissolves separation between the lover and the beloved. The boundaries between self and other, human and divine, life and death begin to disappear. The heart becomes one with existence. Every moment becomes a celebration. Every breath becomes a prayer. Every heartbeat becomes a song. In this union, love is eternal, limitless, and infinite. To die in love is to merge with life itself. Osho shares stories of mystics, saints, and lovers who have experienced this truth. He speaks of Meera, who lost herself completely in Krishna. Her body lived, but her heart had dissolved in divine love. She experienced eternity in every moment. Her love was fearless, pure, and unconditional. She died in love and yet lived forever. Osho explains that this is not a rare or inaccessible state. It is available to anyone willing to surrender fully to love. The courage to die in love also opens the heart to bliss. Osho says that bliss does not come from pleasure, possession, or achievement. It comes from surrender, freedom, and union. When the heart dies to ego, fear, and attachment, it experiences joy beyond description. It experiences life as an eternal celebration. It experiences love as infinite, boundless, and eternal. This is the song of the heart, the dance of the soul, and the fragrance of nothingness realized fully. Osho emphasizes that this death is not loss. It is transformation. It is the ultimate liberation. It is the opening of the heart to infinite love and presence. To die in love is to become one with life itself. It is to live beyond limitation, beyond fear, and beyond time. It is to experience eternity here and now. The heart that dies in love also inspires others. Osho explains that when someone lives fully in love, their presence radiates light, joy, and freedom. Others feel the energy silently. They are inspired, healed, and awakened. The revolution of love spreads naturally. It does not need force, persuasion, or argument. It flows quietly from one heart to another, awakening courage, surrender, and freedom. Osho reminds the reader that dying in love is not only for mystical experiences. It can be lived in everyday life. Every act of kindness, every moment of awareness, every surrender of ego is a small death in love. Each moment of letting go brings freedom, joy, and transformation. The ordinary becomes sacred. Life itself becomes a song, a dance, and a celebration. Finally, Osho connects this chapter to the journey ahead. The next chapter, Meera's Madness and God's Method, explores how surrender, love, and devotion can transform the heart completely. It shows that the courage to die in love is also the path to divine method, madness, and ultimate awakening. The journey continues deeper into surrender, devotion, and the eternal song of love. Chapter 13. Meera's Madness and God's Method. Osho begins this chapter by introducing the story of Meera, the mystic and devotee of Krishna. Her life was not ordinary. It was a journey of love so deep that it appeared as madness to the outside world. Osho explains that true devotion often looks like madness to those who do not understand it. The heart that surrenders completely is free from social conventions, ego, and fear. It follows love blindly, fearlessly, and passionately. This is the path that Meera walked, and it is the path that Osho invites every seeker to explore. Meera's madness was not mindless or chaotic. It was the result of total surrender to the divine. She did not measure, plan, or control her devotion. She gave herself completely to Krishna. Every thought, every word, every action was a reflection of this surrender. To the world, she seemed obsessed, irrational, and eccentric. But to the heart that understands, Meera's life was the purest form of love. It was a method that merged madness with divinity, surrender with ecstasy, and devotion with freedom. Osho explains that this method is not unique to Meera. Every heart that surrenders fully to love enters a similar state. It is a natural result of devotion and surrender. The more the heart lets go of control, pride, and ego, the more it becomes transparent to divine love. This transparency is often misunderstood as madness by society. The liberated heart does not follow rules, expectations, or conventions. It follows the rhythm of existence, the call of love, and the pulse of the soul. The madness of love is a blessing, not a curse. Osho says that those who have not tasted this madness remain trapped in fear, attachment, and limitation. They cling to security, possessions, and identities. They measure life, control experience, and resist change. But the heart that surrenders to love transcends all of this. It moves freely, fearlessly, and spontaneously. It experiences life fully, directly, and joyfully. It dances with the divine in every moment. Osho also emphasizes that Meera's method was simple yet profound. It did not require rituals, knowledge, or authority. It required one thing only: total surrender. The heart had to let go completely, give itself without condition, and trust the divine entirely. This surrender is the key to liberation. It dissolves ego, fear, attachment, and duality. It opens the heart to eternal love, bliss, and unity. Another aspect of Meera's life is courage. Osho explains that surrender to love is not passive. It is an act of courage, boldness, and fearlessness. Meera faced rejection, misunderstanding, and isolation. The world did not accept her devotion. Yet she continued to love without expectation. She continued to surrender without fear. This courage is essential for anyone who seeks to follow the path of true love. It strengthens the heart, expands awareness, and deepens devotion. Osho says that God's method, as shown through Meera, is not about control or manipulation. It is not about earning favor, achieving recognition, or avoiding suffering. It is about surrender, presence, and awareness. It is about becoming a vessel for divine love. The heart that surrenders fully becomes an instrument of ecstasy, freedom, and joy. It sings, dances, and lives in complete alignment with existence. The madness of love also opens the heart to transformation. Osho explains that when the heart surrenders completely, every limitation falls away. The mind, ego, and attachments dissolve. The soul awakens fully. The person begins to live in harmony with life itself. Every moment becomes a celebration. Every experience becomes an expression of love. Every breath becomes sacred. This transformation is the essence of God's method. Osho emphasizes that this path is not easy. It requires letting go of all that is familiar and safe. It requires risking rejection, misunderstanding, and isolation. It requires surrendering completely to love without guarantee or expectation. But the rewards are infinite. The heart becomes free. The soul becomes awake. Life becomes blissful. Death becomes a doorway to eternity. Meera's madness also teaches the importance of devotion beyond reason. Osho explains that the heart must go beyond logic, calculation, and social norms. Love cannot be measured, controlled, or restricted. It flows naturally, spontaneously, and without condition. The person who surrenders completely becomes a living expression of this love. Their life itself becomes a method, a path, and a teaching for others. Finally, Osho connects this chapter to the next stage. Once the heart surrenders fully and follows God's method, it begins to rest in silence. This silence is not ordinary. It is the silence between heartbeats, the stillness of presence, and the fullness of being. It is the preparation for the next chapter, the silence between two heartbeats. Here, the heart experiences life in its purest, simplest, and most eternal form. The journey continues deeper into surrender, ecstasy, and the ultimate union with love. Chapter 14. The Silence Between Two Heartbeats. Osho begins this chapter by explaining that the most profound experiences of love, devotion, and awakening are found in silence. It is not the silence of absence, emptiness, or boredom. It is the silence that exists between two heartbeats, the stillness that lies beneath thought, and the space that holds awareness itself. In this silence, the heart rests, the mind becomes still, and the soul awakens to its true nature. Osho says that life is a constant flow of sound, movement, and thought. The mind is always busy comparing, judging, and interpreting. The heart is always longing, fearing, or desiring. But there is a space, a gap, a pause that exists naturally between every moment, between every thought, between every heartbeat. This is the silence that holds infinite possibilities, love, and awareness. It is the doorway to the eternal. The silence between two heartbeats is not empty. Osho explains that it is full of presence, fullness, and divine energy. It is the moment when the self dissolves, when duality disappears, and when love becomes pure and infinite. In this silence, the heart no longer clings, the mind no longer interferes, and the soul rests in union with existence. It is the true home of the beloved, the place where the lover and the loved become one. Osho emphasizes that this silence is always present, yet it is often unnoticed. People are too caught up in noise, thought, and activity. They seek fulfillment outside themselves. They chase pleasure, recognition, and security. But the real treasure is within, in the space between heartbeats. The heart that learns to pause, observe, and rest in this silence discovers freedom, joy, and love without limits. Osho explains that this silence is also the source of intuition and guidance. When the mind is quiet and the heart is still, the soul can speak clearly. Decisions are no longer based on fear, desire, or ego. They arise naturally from presence and awareness. The heart knows what is needed, what is true, and what is essential. It acts effortlessly, spontaneously, and in harmony with existence. This is the power of resting in silence. The silence between two heartbeats is also deeply healing. Osho says that most suffering comes from attachment, fear, and thought. When the heart rests in this silence, the mind becomes still and the ego dissolves. Pain, worry, and longing lose their grip. The heart experiences peace that is beyond understanding. It experiences love that is infinite and unconditional. It experiences life as a seamless flow of beauty, presence, and grace. Osho also connects this silence to love. He explains that love is not always expressed through words, gestures, or action. Sometimes, love is simply the stillness between two heartbeats. It is the presence that does not need expression. It is the awareness that touches everything without interference. It is the quiet energy that holds the beloved, the world, and the self in unity. This is the ultimate intimacy, the deepest connection, and the purest devotion. The silence between heartbeats is also a path to freedom. Osho says that people are trapped by past memories and future anxieties. They are bound by expectation, attachment, and limitation. The heart that learns to dwell in silence breaks these chains. It experiences life as it is, moment by moment. It flows effortlessly, joyfully, and freely. It no longer resists change, loss, or uncertainty. It embraces existence fully. Osho emphasizes that this silence is not separate from the rest of life. It is not an escape from reality or the world. It exists within every moment, every relationship, and every experience. It can be accessed while walking, working, loving, or even suffering. It is the undercurrent of life itself. The heart that learns to rest in this silence discovers that life is eternal, infinite, and blissful. Finally, Osho connects this chapter to the journey ahead. The next chapter, The Door Opens Within, explores the final stage of awakening and surrender. It shows that when the heart dwells in silence, when the soul dances in love, and when surrender is complete, the ultimate door opens within. This door leads to the eternal, the infinite, and the divine. It is the culmination of the journey of love, devotion, and awakening. Osho concludes by reminding the reader that the silence between two heartbeats is always available. It is the treasure that lies within, waiting for courage, surrender, and awareness. Those who discover it experience life fully, love freely, and rest eternally. The journey continues, deeper into presence, freedom, and the eternal embrace of the beloved. Chapter 15. The Door Opens Within. Osho begins this final chapter by explaining that the ultimate awakening, the highest realization, is found within. The door to the divine, to eternal love, and to infinite freedom is not outside. It is not in books, teachers, rituals, or worldly experiences. It opens only within the heart, in the silence between thoughts, in the surrender of the ego, and in the pure awareness of being. Every seeker must discover this for themselves. The key is presence, courage, and love. Osho emphasizes that the door within has always been there. It is eternal, unchanging, and alive. The heart has simply forgotten its own depth. People look outside for meaning, fulfillment, and guidance, yet the treasure is already inside. The door opens when the heart becomes silent, the mind becomes still, and the soul is free to move. It requires trust, surrender, and the willingness to go beyond fear, attachment, and limitation. This is the final step in the journey of the beloved. The first requirement for opening the door is courage. Osho explains that the heart must be willing to go beyond comfort, security, and habit. It must be ready to dissolve old patterns, beliefs, and attachments. It must be willing to die to the small self, the ego, and the illusions of separation. This courage is not reckless. It is the courage of surrender, the bravery of trust, and the boldness of love. Without it, the door within remains closed. The second requirement is love. Osho says that love is the force that opens the heart and awakens the soul. It is not a sentimental or romantic love. It is the love that transcends duality, fear, and desire. It is unconditional, limitless, and eternal. The heart that loves without expectation, without possession, and without restriction becomes a mirror for the divine. Through this love, the door within slowly begins to open. The third requirement is presence. Osho explains that most people live in the past or the future. They are caught in memories, regrets, and anxieties. They miss the eternal now, the only reality that exists. Presence is the key to opening the door within. It allows the heart to experience life directly. It allows the soul to awaken to its true nature. It allows love, ecstasy, and freedom to flow unhindered. Osho emphasizes that surrender is the fourth step. The heart must let go completely. It must give up control, pride, and resistance. It must allow life, love, and the divine to flow through it. Surrender does not mean weakness. It means trusting the infinite, embracing uncertainty, and opening fully to existence. Through surrender, the door within swings open silently, effortlessly, and naturally. The experience of the door opening within is transformative. Osho explains that it is like entering a new dimension of life. Time, space, and duality lose meaning. The heart experiences love without limit. The soul experiences freedom without bound. The mind experiences clarity without effort. The body experiences joy without condition. Every moment becomes alive, sacred, and eternal. Osho shares that when the door opens within, the separation between the lover and the beloved disappears. The self merges with the divine. The finite merges with the infinite. Life, death, love, and being become one. This is the ultimate realization, the highest ecstasy, and the deepest peace. It is the culmination of the entire journey of the beloved. Another key aspect of this awakening is the inner guidance that flows naturally. Osho says that once the door opens within, the heart becomes intuitive. The soul knows what is right without effort or calculation. The mind becomes a servant of awareness. Decisions, actions, and choices arise naturally from love, presence, and clarity. Life becomes effortless, harmonious, and fully aligned with the flow of existence. Osho explains that this awakening also dissolves all fear of death. When the door within opens, life and death are understood as two aspects of the same reality. The soul realizes its eternal nature. There is no fear, no loss, and no separation. The heart lives fully in every moment, knowing that existence itself is eternal. This is the fulfillment of the truth expressed in the previous chapter. To die in love is to live forever. The awakening within also allows the heart to live in freedom. Osho says that freedom is not doing whatever one wants. It is the liberation from fear, attachment, and limitation. It is the ability to flow with life, to love without expectation, and to experience joy without reason. The soul that has entered the door within moves naturally, freely, and creatively in every moment. It dances with existence, sings the song beyond words, and radiates the fire of devotion. Silently, Osho emphasizes that the door within is also the source of deep meditation. It is not a practice or technique. It is the natural state of awareness that arises when the heart surrenders, the mind rests, and the soul is free. Every breath, every heartbeat, every movement becomes meditation. Every experience becomes a teacher. Every relationship becomes a reflection of love. Life itself becomes sacred, effortless, and full of grace. Osho reminds the reader that this is not the end of the journey. The door within opens, but the journey continues eternally. Each moment becomes an opportunity to deepen awareness, surrender, and love. Each breath becomes a reminder of the divine presence. Each heartbeat becomes a celebration of life, existence, and the eternal beloved. The seeker becomes the beloved, and the beloved becomes the world. Finally, Osho concludes the book by encouraging the reader to embrace this inner journey. He reminds that every chapter, every story, every teaching points toward this ultimate truth. The hidden power of love, surrender, devotion, silence, and awareness all lead to the same destination. The door within those who have the courage to open it, discover the eternal, the infinite, and the divine. They live fully, love completely, and rest in the freedom that is always present, always available, and always eternal. The beloved Vol 2 ends with the understanding that the journey of love, surrender, and awakening is infinite. The door within is not a goal, but a doorway to endless exploration. Every heartbeat, every breath, every moment becomes an opportunity to discover the beloved within. The seeker becomes the lover, the loved, and the eternal witness of life. This is the culmination of the path of love, devotion, and ultimate awakening. The journey continues silently, joyfully, and eternally within.